budgeted $3,738. And a lot of that would have to be spent, and when you have, if you have to tune boilers, if you don't do it, you spend the money on utilities. So that's not a place to save.
Yeah. So we have included in your packet the detailed budget. You know, normally by this time of the year, we've put this in a notebook and distributed it around the community. But because we hadn't done that yet, we included it in your packet. It's a little bit in rough form, but the numbers are accurate. You know, you notice it's not paginated, and there's typos here and there. But when we finally decide to vote on a budget, I'll put out a detailed version of it. But I thought at this point it was appropriate to get that out there.
So we know we need an override just to maintain what we have now. Same number of staff, same hours of operation, same program elements. We need an override just to meet that, correct?
Well, do we know that?
Well,
We're working on a number there that, you know, depending on, I mean, if we're talking about a 3% increase in available revenues.
no, but see, we're not.
So what's the figure we're talking about for available revenues?
Between 1% and 2%.
1 to 2 is starting.
Available revenues?
Yeah, that's what they're telling us to, that's what they told us back a month and a half ago.
Who told us?
The finance planning
And
committee.
generally, I mean, is that a very, very, very conservative number? I mean, generally, don't we find ourselves in a better position than that, revenue-wise?
Yes,
Well,
And I'm not
historically,
basing it on
we have.
anything, you know, any numbers that I know, I just know that every year we go through this exercise, and the revenues are generally, there's more available revenue than what we projected this time of the year.
Looking at state tax receipts though, and what mass taxpayers funded, I can't, you could be right, but and what's happening with the lottery, I think we're seeing three, difficult trends there with those three. You could be right, it could be 3%. I can't see it being 5.7%. Now, maybe I'm being pessimistic.
Well, I'm not saying it's
but I-
gonna be 5.7%, I'm saying if it gets anywhere up in the 3.5 to 4% range, sometimes there's other ways, we've done this in the past, when the town came from Forest a
Right.
couple of years ago.
Right.
When they allocated $600,000 towards our budget.
But
It's
Jerry, that
available-
wasn't because 600,000 more was available in revenues, it's because general government was willing to
I
make a
understand that.
reduction.
I
So
understand.
we got more money,
I
but not
understand-
because
I
the
understand
pot
that, but I'm
rose.
saying, if you're working at that 5.7% number,
Mhm.
I'm just saying, and again, if it's overly optimistic, there may be ways,
Yes.
combined with,
To stay within status quo and not cost a 1.2 million.
We're gonna need, I think it's safe to say
Yeah.
we're gonna need help though. We're gonna need help
Exactly.
in one way or
Exactly.
another to
Yeah.
reach that number. You're
and,
correct, you're
and-
correct.
and I guess what we have to do is establish what our goal is. If our goal
Right.
is status quo, then it's possible that, and again, I'm not overly optimistic, we may be able to get there without an override. But if we wanted to even get to the restoration budget, clearly, that's gonna require an override.
Right.
And that's just to get back and restore the positions and the programs that we lost from last fiscal year to this fiscal year.
Right.
So I think that, if our position's gonna be to go to restoration, then we're in an override mode, and that's all there is to it.
Right.
We gotta decide, where do we go from status quo to improved quality, somewhere in between. Whether it's restoration, beyond restoration, less than restoration, it's gonna require an override. But the status quo, and I wanna be careful that, again, that we don't overstate the reductions that have to be made based on a 2% revenue either. You hear what I'm saying? I just
Yeah.
don't wanna, I don't wanna be throwing out possible reductions that aren't necessarily gonna happen.
Well, I think we were pretty careful with that last year, though. I think I think as we got closer, Dr. Stroden gave us a good list of what would have to happen, and I think all of that happened.
Yeah, but again,
No, but I hear what you're saying. We don't wanna sit here like ghouls throwing out, all kinds of scary things. My belief is, however, that if we had to live within 2%, there are gonna be some things that
no
are
question
gonna
about
be
it.
uncomfortable.
But I just, again,
Right.
whatever the reason, based on 8.5 years of sitting here, I just think that 2% is a really, really conservative estimate. And again, I haven't been in finance planning meeting, so.
No, I have no doubt that if there were available revenues, that there's enough support for the school budget and the hit that it will take, that we would see an increase in our budget. I don't know if we could capture, 1.2 million, but I'm pretty confident that the people involved in putting the revenues together understand the position we're in and support us.
Another way to look at that is, this year's budget was just over 3.1% over FY '07. And so if we apply that kind of logic, a 3% budget, then we're looking at reducing the 2.7.
$500,000.
Yeah, well, more than that.
Right, 600,000.
Yeah.
And it begs the question, because I know I'm not,
The 600,000, my point is, exactly, and I'm not saying this can happen again, but we found a way in the past to
Shift
to
some funding.
some of the funding,
Yeah.
some of the burdens, to make up that very amount,
but to your point, at which I addressed earlier, I think we need to start getting some consensus around the table here, because
I agree.
I'm not happy that we're gonna be pushing a status quo budget. If we are, that means we still have a 2-hour early release on one day next year. That's just not that's not what we should be doing as a school system. And we're not gonna have, and we're gonna have the same music program, or lack thereof, art, phys ed. So I'm just not,
Well, again, I think this makes it an easy decision for me. We're looking at 5.7% just to do status quo. I mean, I think our goal at the minimum, or at least my goal would be to do a restoration
same,
budget at the minimum,
me too.
and that's just my position.
Any other comments, Ms. Davis? What is your feeling on the budget status?
I'm wondering if it's too late to join the community planning commission instead.
That's good, they don't have very many budget issues over there, that's a good idea.
No, certainly the community feeling I get is that everybody hates the weekly early dismissal. Everybody. I don't know anybody who thinks it's great or, has scheduled something fabulous with their children at that time. It's very hard, especially on the single parents. I know it's very difficult. They have to arrange childcare.
See, the problem with that is that shouldn't be the only of the
It's
primary
not,
thing
Right.
that's
driving
not
this
the
budget.
primary thing,
It really
because the
shouldn't be.
reason that we're having those early release days is because we've cut back
That's true.
on music and art
That's
and
true.
phys ed. And that makes me crazy.
But I'd rather have them upset about the fact that we cut back on music and art and phys ed than the fact that they're inconvenienced because kids are getting out early on Wednesdays. You're right, the cause for that early release is because of those
Right,
cuts.
they're linked together, there's no way to separate the two. But I would certainly, I'm with you, Jerry, in that I'm certainly at a minimum would like to see the restoration budget. I'd like to see it so that we've got the music and the art back and the phys ed back, especially, in trying to be more health conscious. I'd like to see that back, at a minimum. I wish we could do more. I'm not confident that we could get support to do more than that. But that's what I would like to see in that.
Mr.
If we were to go for the restoration budget, that doesn't address in any way the continuing increase in class sizes. I think we may have to just bite the bullet on class size and take a chance and try to figure out what other ways we can deal with education. And I don't have any magic bullet here, but I'm thinking that we should be focusing right now on hearing what some of the administrative councils coming up with for alternative ways of structuring some of our educational objectives. All of this budget talks about delivering education the way we've envisioned it over the last few years. And that's all based on solid research, I understand that. And it's pretty much the way other school districts who spend more per student do it. we're in a bind where, A, the Commonwealth hasn't figured out how to fund education properly yet. B, our taxpayers are going to need to be very solidly convinced before they'll approve an override. And the only way I think that we're going to be able to do that convincing is by exploring these alternatives and seeing what their pros and cons are and what we can do with them. I would not go far beyond the restoration budget, but if some of these alternatives might require an initial investment, I would want to build that into whatever we sought now. And if there were things that we could trim in order to make those investments possible without going beyond the restoration budget, fine, that would be great. I look at the four things on the list in the restoration budget, and I know what the first three all are, and I'm not sure if the fourth is actually essential at this time. Would that be a source of money for investments, if we needed to make investments to make changes?
You mean instructional support?
Exactly.
I think are those paraprofessionals, David? On the fourth item on the restoration budget, that $118,738, is that
How
paraprofessionals?
will those two
No,
and a
they're
half
not,
positions be
it's
used?
not, instructional support,
Ah.
those are teachers.
Oh, okay. All right, because the support people are really in the tech and library area.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
David, could you tell us what those four items that would, we would be restoring, what would they be? I mean, we all are aware of the art, music, and PE that costs the half-days on Wednesdays, but, you know, what happened at the high school? What would we be restoring? What are out
Well,
of these items?
see, this is the fundamental question with the principals and the debate, that we listed out in the column restoration to show you that these were the positions that we cut in June. But if we were making a decision in terms of going forward, we may in fact follow what Mr. Jorby is suggesting, to not restore some of the positions that we cut in favor of making other decisions around class size or the literacy, the reading area, which we feel in the long run, yes, there's still the issue of the rest, you know, the Wednesday early release, but the primary concern is with the children in school and what are we doing with them for the time that we have them, and how can we better provide a quality education.
Because we had a 3-year plan, and it was to, over 3 years, increase staffing that would, at the end of 3 years, meet our enrollments. So we're a couple of steps behind. I wouldn't necessarily be in favor of restoring the exact positions we cut, because I think we're falling further behind in other areas. In my case, I think at the high school, we haven't kept up with the enrollment increases. Class sizes there continue to increase, and the electives are decreasing. So if we were to restore 3.5 fine arts teachers, what would that be? Is that elementary and
No.
middle school music and art?
Let me go through the restoration, okay? We cut 3.5, the equivalent of 3.5 music and art teachers across the district. So that's a net, that's just a restoration of those positions. It would put back music twice a week at the elementary level, would put back art once a week in the elementary level. It would restore a full fine arts program as part of the rotation in middle school, would put back